Hello, my name is Danielle, and I've got a testimony. We know that Romans 8:28 says, "For we know that all things work together for the good to them who love God and to them who are the called according to his purpose." And I have truly seen that verse lived out in my life and in our family's life. You see, last year, my husband and I, one of our children was having a particularly challenging time in the classroom. No, their grades were doing fine, and their friendships were doing fine, but on last year, they were having a particularly hard time with one of their teachers. And, we're not one of those parents that, believe our children are above reproach and never make mistakes or never misbehave. But after many conversations, many meetings, and lots of fervent prayer, we really began to see that it appeared as though this particular child of ours was being unfairly and unduly criticized, and called to the carpet on a lot of different things. And so a lot of, like I said, meetings and a lot of fervent prayer, some tears cried, as we sought God on how to handle this situation. And I can remember talking with this child and saying, sometimes, sweetheart, we just have to go through hard things. How many of you know sometimes in life we have to go through hard things, and there's a lesson in that to persevere, just to stay the course. We still continue to encourage and teach our child to be respectful to the teacher, to show kindness, to listen, and to do their very best despite this challenging situation. But when I tell you that God works all things for the good, that was the testimony on last year. But this year, thank you, Jesus, God has completely turned that situation around. Where we used to get emails and phone calls and notes talking about how this child wasn't doing this right and wasn't doing that right. On this year, we get emails and phone calls saying what a joy it is to have this child in the classroom, and how we're so privileged to have them and we're seeing them grow. On last year, while they didn't have an opportunity to participate in the classroom play, and participate in the classroom activities on this year, not only did they participate in the classroom play, but they actually got to write the play, and were lifted up and applauded in front of the entire school because of their efforts. And so while it didn't feel good on last year, and again, we had many times of prayer, many conversations, and we told our child, hey, sometimes we have to go through hard things. And if you can imagine, as a parent, it didn't feel good seeing our child go through that hard thing. But my husband and I, we talked about this and we prayed about it, and we really believed that God was using it as an opportunity to teach and to show him that sometimes we go through hard things, even as we seek God, even as we stay faithful to him, even as we do our very best. And while the situation didn't turn out last year the way we might would have wanted to, oh, God turned it around. And on this year, our testimony is of God's faithfulness, of God's continuing keeping power, of God's encouragement. What was a sorrowful experience on last year, on this year has brought tremendous joy. And not only that, I shared this, throughout it all, I'm so grateful that God kept our child's heart tender. When he saw that teacher at the beginning of the school year this year, he went and gave her a great big hug and said, "I'm so glad to see you." And that's a lesson even in that even when we go through hard things, let's seek God to keep our hearts tender to him, toward the people around us. Yes, they might have hurt us. Yes, they might have caused some confusion. But God is the one who has the final say. And if we stay faithful to him, he will continue to show his faithfulness to us. And so I'm just so grateful. We're so grateful. And that's our testimony.